The Rebel with Shireen Thor. I am so happy to be with you, you hot, hot piece of ass. Oh my goodness. Clearly I've had too much coffee this morning. How are you, friends? Do you have your headphones in? Are you trying to ignore somebody while you are walking down the street or driving in your car? Are you trying to look busy? Because God knows I am. Yes. All right, so today, it's kind of a nebulous subject I want to talk about today. We are going to talk about being quiet. Because it's interesting. As you guys know, I follow the Gary Vaynerchuk, and I love that guy. Sometimes I love him because he's ahead of the curve and a freaking genius, and sometimes I love him because the shit he says I really don't like, and I'm totally not with it, and it helps me get more clear on what I am with. Like, that's the nature of the rebel, It's like, oh, I'm going against the grain. I don't like that, and that helps me know more what is good and right and true for me. So, he had a really innovative point he made when I watched some YouTube keynote, whatever the heck it was. And he basically said that social media is like our new television. So he really believes that social media is like going to take the place of television in the way of like marketing, or brand building. And he talked about how when we were like mainly all about radio and television came into play, it was like, oh my God, television is going to be the death of us, which is shit we say about social media, right? Like we talk all the time about how it's like, oh, social media is creating such disconnection and it's not okay. And he's this really sort of progressive marketing dude who's saying, get the fuck over it, bro. Like, this is where it's going, and you either like get with it or you don't. The market, his big thing is the market doesn't give a fuck about what you want or what you don't want. The market just does what the market does, and you either get with it and adapt or you fail. So basically, this is an interesting point he brings up because, if that's the case, and if my main desire is to brand build and market and all that good stuff, then I would get with it. I would adapt, and I would just be like, hey, social media. I'm just going to like put out every thought I ever had and, post inspirational quotes and be all rebel-y and just be brand building and do the damn thing, Be doing YouTube and Twitter and all the goods. But here's something that I want us to think about as a tribe. In my life, a lot of what has sort of been the deciding factor or the dictator of the way I navigate has been how I feel, which can be unpopular, I think, to a lot of people and can be super popular to others. I mean, who fucking knows? And there's a place in my mind where I've even criticized myself for that. Like, oh, you're on the tail end of the millennials. You're so fucking irresponsible. You just do what you feel. You don't get to just do what you fucking feel. Like, who does that? You gotta grind, so there's that. But back to it, I do just want to illustrate, look, what my experience has been, and we'll see where it takes us. So I used to do stand-up comedy, and a lot of people are like, dude, you were really good at comedy. Like, why the fuck did you stop? Because like at the moment that I stopped doing stand-up comedy was the moment that MTV actually scouted me and brought me in to talk to me about becoming a VJ or a talking head for them. And I started sort of getting noticed by casting directors who work at E! And MTV and VH1. So it was like the point in my comedy career where if I just kept grinding, I probably would have had some legit success in comedy. Like, who fucking knows? Could have been Amy Schumer, or could have just been a no-name who got on TV a couple times. Like, I don't obviously know where that road would have taken me, but would have taken me somewhere had I stayed on it. So a lot of people are like, why the fuck did you stop doing stand-up comedy? Like, it was a dumb decision. You're really good at it. You were getting noticed. Like, you should have just kept doing that because you obviously naturally have this sort of comedic style about you. It hasn't gone away even in your doing life coaching and motivational speaking. So like, what the fuck, you dumb bitch. And to my rebels, my explanation is that in my life, oftentimes what has dictated my decisions is how I feel. And how I was feeling at the time that I decided to stop doing stand-up comedy was empty. I just felt like I actually didn't really care if people laughed. I felt like every time I went to go do a gig, I was like arduously driving and standing up on stage and apathetically not giving a flying fuck if they laughed or not. And I was almost just doing it because I had done it for a couple years at this point and felt too bad quitting. Like, it was the judgment in my head of like, oh, you're going to quit another thing. Look at you, like, not having any real direction and like dropping this thing once you start to reach some success. And that's, my little ugly self-criticism story that goes on in my head. What I didn't know at the time was that I wasn't fucking meant to be a stand-up comedian. Like, I didn't know that. I thought, shit, this was my path. Like, what am I doing? What the fuck is wrong with me? Like, why am I not feeling this? And all I kept sort of feeling into was, it's just like not deep enough for me. I want to help people. And while I know comedy has its value in helping people in the way of like making people laugh, and there's all these great medical, stats that say laughing helps you physiologically, and it's great for all these reasons. Like, to me, it wasn't really like helping enough. It was like, yeah, I can make you laugh, but to me, like, there's an emptiness around that. Like, I actually don't care to be your fucking court jester. Like, I just don't. And so I just couldn't get around that. I could not like force myself to continue doing comedy when that was my state of internal affairs. It was just like, dude, I'm not with it, man. I cannot fucking force myself to keep being the court jester when I actually don't really give a fuck about making people laugh right now. And so I stopped, and I ended up going on this road trip. It's so crazy. It's crazy. Life gives you exactly what you need. One of this, like 6 to 8 weeks, I think it was 6 weeks, road trip in an RV with a company called Road Trip Nation, and read like 6 books. Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth. Like, I got all fucking deep. I read Skinny Bitch. I like tried to be a vegetarian for, I don't know, I think I did 8 months before I gained like 20 pounds. I was like, fuck it. Anyway, I got all up in my soul, and it just became very clear to me that while, this motivational seminar was the sort of inception of me setting the goal to become a comedian, that 2 years later, what had really made a difference to me was the coaching, having a coach and like going deep within myself and really choosing courage instead of looking, strong or tough, and choosing courage and vulnerability really made a difference in me being able to experience intimate relationship. And there were so many things that I had did internally along that 2 years of like doing comedy that really changed my life in a lot of ways. And so I think I just felt like I really want to pay it forward. Like, I want to be a coach now. I want to help people on a deep level live a very fulfilled life. And so I went and did that, and that was great, and that was wonderful. So the point for you, my sweet friends, is to really look within, to actually feel into like what you feel, because there's a really genius unconscious leader inside your soul that we silence because we're so busy listening to the external world and, using external praise as our barometer for our own success, when really you see it 100 times over. Like, someone can be crazy successful and they're fucking miserable and they commit suicide, or they can be crazy successful, but something's not right with them internally. And so they never were able to work it out in their marriage and they get a divorce. Like, it's funny, like, me with coaching and everything, I went down that road. And even after I did that for a couple of years, I realized, I need a happy medium between who I am as a coach and an inspirer and an empowerer, and who I am as a no bullshit chick who still likes to host and be funny and all that shit. And I really believe this podcast is sort of like that dream born into physical form. So thank you for being here, sweet friend. It means a lot. You are the witness to a dream come true. Hey! But in a lot of ways, it's sort of like more self-actualization equates to more clarity on your career and your path. And it's not linear oftentimes. Like, I feel like we so often just want to be like, I'm going to be a doctor, and I'm going to med school, and I'm going to do residency, and then that's it. But for creative types, for artists, for philosophers, for writers, for innovators, for entrepreneurs, I'm sorry, dude, your shit is not going to be that simple. You're going to be grinding and failing and grinding and failing and discovering more and trying again and succeeding and then failing. Like, it's just the fucking way it goes, We just have a more confusing and tumultuous way about our career. It's just what it is. So, that's all it is. I just really wanted to sort of have a discussion around that, because I feel like there's a lot of like entrepreneurship coaching, and there's a lot of just coaching around social media and be out there and do this and do that. And I think it's great, like, had it not been for Gary Vaynerchuk and his crazy hustle, I wouldn't have heard this YouTube video to even have this critique, And so good for him that he built that. And when I feel into my own self and my own life, I don't fucking want to be on Snapchat all day. I don't want to report my comings and goings 24/7. I want to live a quiet life. And that might mean I won't make as much money as Gary Vaynerchuk. And I'm okay with that. Because money is not the thing that is my barometer for success. It's a part of it, sure, but it's a part of a whole. There's family. There's my relationship with my husband. Inside of the family loop, okay? There's my relationship with my husband. There's my relationship with my kids. There's my relationship with myself. Outside of the family loop, there's how I actually feel on a daily basis. This was actually part of also why I ditched stand-up comedy, was because how I felt on a daily basis in the comedy industry was not how I want to feel. So it's funny, like, you know, people criticize millennials and all this shit for feeling into their feelings and making decisions based off that. But I wasn't just having a short-term view of like, oh, I don't like it right now. I was actually having a long-term view of like, I don't want to spend the next few decades of my life around people who are emotionally unstable and don't believe in marriage. Like, most comedians will tell you marriage is an institution and it's full of crap and it's just disgusting. And most of them are bipolar. And I have nothing against people who struggle with mental illness. In fact, I'm totally on their side. And I think we need to do a lot better job of taking really good care of them. But doesn't mean I want to sit around and have discussions with colleagues in my industry day in and day out and feel the weight of unhappiness all the time. It just didn't feel right to me. I was like, no, I don't think these are like the type of people that I want to be around 24/7. So that was a big factor. Another big factor is I'm a fucking nerd, man. Like, I have literally gone to bed before 10 and woke up before 6 a.m. for the majority of my life. I've never been the cool girl, even like, shocking. I know. I sound like a sailor and a partier and like a crazy hoe bag, but trust me, I'm a fucking nerd, okay? I've always gone to bed early. I've always woke up early. I've always liked daytime activities more than nighttime. I've literally fallen asleep at a slot machine in Vegas. That is what a fucking nerd I am, okay? I could not be cool like the cool kids who could stay up late and like sex it up all night. Like, I'm like, yeah, isn't it bedtime? Like, shouldn't we be like drinking milk and going to sleep? This is so weird. So anyway, the point is the lifestyle also really didn't fit. Like, to be a comedian, I would, one, have to be down to be a road comic to make any real money. And I knew I wanted to have a family, and I knew that touring as a road comic wasn't really going to make for a family life. And I also knew that I would be in dirty comedy clubs night after night, drink in hand, smoke in hand, and having conversations with people who don't believe in marriage and are basically very unhappy in their lives. Did I want that? No. So, you know, I feel like oftentimes we criticize ourselves for feeling into our emotions or making these short-term decisions, but you know, with this one, while it may have looked like a crazy move, especially since I was getting noticed and all that good stuff, it was really sort of a life choice, like a long-term life choice of like, if I ever do want family and marriage and a happy little, you know, all that good stuff, I don't think the comedian's life is a life that's going to provide that. And so I chose out and I went a different route. So yeah, I just want us to really think like, one, how do I feel doing what I'm doing? Do I feel fulfilled? Do I feel on fire? Do I feel alive? Do I feel dead? Do I feel empty? Do I feel disempowered? Like, how do I feel? And then two, is this going to provide the type of lifestyle that's going to allow me to reach my long-term vision? Will I be able to have what I want to have in the long term doing this? I fucking swear that's it, yo. Like, tap into your emotions on how you feel on the daily, and then tap into what you want in the long term and if this is going to get you there. Like, that shit will create a happy life for you. If you just use those two fucking questions as your barometer, golden. Freaking golden. It's crazy, man. So that's it, dude. I hope you ask yourself those questions. I hope this is useful for you. I'm really passionate about this subject because, you know, I've wanted to be a dating coach. I've wanted to be a premarital coach. I've wanted to be an entrepreneurship coach. There's so many, you know, I'm definitely a life purpose coach, but I'll tell you right now, I am nothing if not a lifestyle design coach. Dear God, that is the most important thing to me because it sort of encompasses it all. Do you want To be happy? Okay, great. What's going to make you happy? Okay, great. A relationship, money, this, that, the other. Okay, great. Let's make that happen. I just feel like it's a holistic way to really make your shit happen. And so think about that. What's going to make you happy? If you die and go to the grave, what's going to make you proud? Henry David Thoreau, people. Get your philosopher geek on from the Transcendentalist movement. My favorite dude. Most men lead lives of quiet desperation and go to the grave with the song still in them. So if you were to really think about what your song is and what would need to happen in your life for you to go to the grave peacefully, like I fucking sang my song, bitches! Sang that shit loud and proud. You're good. You can go and die and never have a regret. What would that life look like? And after you fucking figure that out, holler at me on awakeningrebel.com, click on the coaching tab, apply for a discovery session. I will help you